Hey folks, welcome back to another TWiP PRO photo critique. This is episode number 54. This is TWiP. Hey, welcome back to another TWiP PRO photo critique. I'm sitting here with my good friend and partner in crime, Mr. Troy Miller. Troy and I are going to be diving into some of the latest submissions to the TWiP PRO photo community. Troy Miller, man, what's going on in your world? And you ready to dive in? We got another huge batch of images.
20. I feel like after that last critique where we had, I don't know, it was like 30 some images, and then you made this little request like, hey everybody, just submit one. It's kind of like that cartoon car that's out of control, the brakes are smoking, and now we have 20.
Yeah, but it's 20, but it's better because it's one per person now, right? So
yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, that's the way we want it. We want to keep it egalitarian and fair across the board. Some people submitting 4 images or 3 images, and other people submitting 1. It's disproportionate.
Right.
Disproportionate.
Yeah, we're not going to call out Peter Levshin for submitting 2, right?
Yeah. Well, there's always the overachievers in the bunch that try to do more. Yeah. But it's all good. It's all good. All right, we got stuff to talk about. Before we dive in, and before I forget at the end of the episode, I mentioned I think we mentioned in previous episodes that we were going to be moving to a theme format for these shows.
Right.
And I think I want to start with next week's show. And there's a couple of parameters I want to throw out there just for the TWiP PRO members. And I'll put this in writing in a post as well. But we're going to go with a theme. And we'll talk about that theme in a second. But we wanted to have an incentive for this going forward. Because right now the incentive is just sort of having your image shown on camera and on This Week in Photo and in the community and getting the feedback and all that stuff. But I wanted to up that a little bit and have a little bit of incentive at the end of each month. So what we're going to do is, there's, depending on the month, there's generally 4 weeks in the month. So there'll be 4 critiques that happen during the month. We'll pick a winner or a best of or a nitpicker's choice from each one of those critique sessions. So at the end of the month, we'll end up with 4, and from those 4, there will be a prize. It'll be something digital. At least initially, it'll be something digital like, an Amazon gift certificate or Starbucks or something like that I can just email to you that you can use that you don't have to worry about customs or anything like that with. So we'll do that. And then we're still kind of toying with the idea of what to do at the end of the quarter, right? Because Troy brought this up, we also want to do like a bigger prize at the end of the quarter, and that prize will likely be fueled by the TWiP sponsors. And right now, as I record this, our sponsors are Capture One, Emerald Expo, which runs WPPI, Photo Plus Expo, and those sorts of events. Data Color, they make the spider for color calibration, and Creative Live, whom I'm sure you know about. So there may be other ones by the time, even by the time this airs, there may be other ones. But that's kind of an idea of where the quarterly prize will be pulled from. It may be a grouping of those, something from each of those sponsors or something cool from one of them. We don't know yet. But at the very least, at the end of every month, there will be something cool just to say, you have bragging rights. And then Troy, maybe there needs to be something big at the end of the year, right? Because, we'll have monthly, we'll have quarterly, and then at the end of the year, we need to do something crazy. Like, you can go hang out at Troy's house and have drinks and he'll cook dinner for you.
I'm down. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. But, just a little bit more structure, a little bit more fun. And the whole idea of these critiques is to give you guys, the members, incentive to get out there and shoot, right? It's not, obviously part of it is to make you want to remain a member of This Week in Photo or TWiP PRO, but the non sort of, selfish reason is to get you guys out and shooting and having a destination to upload those images to, so that, your camera isn't just sitting in the bag gathering dust, like some people's, I don't know. Yeah,
I don't know what side you're on.
Yeah, I can switch it. So
Yeah, like that guy over there.
yeah, the guy with the glasses. Oh no, that's you. No, the guy without the beanie. How about? All right, man. Let's dive in.
Let's do it.
You've got a couple to go through. Let me bring up TWiP PRO here. All right, we are in the photo critique area. We'll start from top to bottom. This first one is from member Tim Engel. Let me see what Tim said. He says, this was an assignment I had for a tourism guide because I couldn't bring a lot of lights. I ended up doing 22 different exposures and lighting each part of the train, then combining them afterwards. Look at that, man. 22. Look at that. How about that for HDR? That's old school real estate style HDR, right?
Yeah, well, that's light painting. That's what that is.
Look at that. Yeah. I wonder if Tim did any focus stacking with this. Like, were each one of the shots the same sort of focal length, focal distance focus? Or did he like sort of rack it all the way down and change the focus for the different part of the train he was lighting? In either case, this is cool. This is really cool.
Yeah, that would be interesting. Yeah, that would be focus stacking and light painting would be tough to do all at once. Try to get all those edges to merge together. But either way, in Tim fashion, this is exquisitely lit. I really like this a lot, and I liked this is a good use of light where the background is kind of falling out. He's lit only the most important parts, and that just really draws us into the image to look at the train. I mean, that's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and also like that where like Tim is breaking out of his, I mean, not that he has a genre, but he is known for doing, these sort of high fashion shots, right? And this is not that. So it is good to see that he can, his superpowers lend themselves to other kinds of photography versus sort of pigeonholing himself into one thing.
Right. Well, light is light, whether you're lighting a person or a train or it's a mountain or it's a landscape. I mean, light behaves a certain way and you can manipulate it with whatever tools are available.
Yeah. I have a lot of respect for fashion portrait photographers like yourself and Tim Engel, because the other side of the coin is, you can know light, you can understand your camera, f-stop, shutter speeds, all that stuff, but on the other side of it, the whole other side of the coin is the psychology piece of working with your subjects. Like this train doesn't know if Tim is there or not. So, he can get the shot and do whatever he wants. But if the minute you throw a model in the scene, then there's a psychological aspect to it that needs to happen, making connections with the model, make sure she's at ease, you're showing her in her best light and, all that stuff. So you have to sort of step out from behind the camera to be a little bit more empathetic versus just more sterile and technical like it is with this kind of shot, right?
Sure, but also there is the understanding of how light is playing on this object. So even though it's sort of an inanimate, he still has to understand it, just like a person. Like, how are they going to react? There's a lot of reflective surfaces on this. This is lit from an angle off to the right, back, creating scraping light. I mean, it's the same. Every subject has a personality and a way that it handles light and how you need to handle that subject. Yeah. So. Yeah, I agree. This is very well done. Of course, Tim enters. Shows us a great image.
Yeah,
Tim. He does.
We're gonna name him Unfair Advantage Engel.
No, he's MacGyver Engel. We've already
MacGyver Engel. Yeah. Home Depot Engel. There it is. Kai is up next. We met Kai in the in person in the member mixer session we had.
The member mixer, yeah. You got to decide what you're going to call it.
I was going to say office hours. The reason I didn't call it office hours was because it just sounds so sterile and bad, right? Office hours. First of all, you can only see me during these hours, and it's in the office, which that doesn't sound fun. Right. Member mixer sounds like, hey, it's warm and fuzzy.
Yeah, and we really didn't talk about anything useful for a while. So
that was the whole point.
Yeah, it was great.
All right, Kai's up. He says, the harvest moon rising over the Golden Gate Bridge. Look at that.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah. Sweet. I love that. At first I didn't like the little red light in there. I was like, but now, because that's the bridge, maybe it works. I don't know. I still struggle with that. But composition, phenomenal use of composition on this. Leading lines. I mean, this is great. Perfect example.
Yeah. And that iconic sort of, the suspension of the Golden Gate Bridge is sort of iconic. There's lots of bridges around that are similar to the Golden Gate Bridge, but You know, this one, especially if you're in the Bay Area, this one speaks to you. You know, it's like, I know that. I know where he was standing sort of when he shot this. You know,
I've never photographed the bridge. I've never been there and done that.
have you seen the bridge? You've seen the bridge.
Yeah, I've driven on the bridge. I've seen the bridge. I took a picture, I took a couple photos from the other side, from like where the, I don't know what it is. It's like the historical area on the lower right side. You can walk up to the water. I did an engagement shoot down there, but I've never been to this area, and I see these shots all the time, and I've never been there.
Yeah. You know what I did? This will probably incriminate me, and the FBI will be at the house any second. I took my Mavic out there to the north side of the bridge where you can sort of get off, and if you go down a little bit, there's a platform where you can just sort of stand and get really nice shots of it. I decided to fly my Mavic from there and get some shots of the bridge.
Oh, jeez.
I had the Mavic hovering. See where this spire is? I had the Mavic hovering, I don't know, like 100 feet above that spire, shooting straight down on the bridge. I did all kinds of shots around the bridge. And then I left the bridge. I was like, okay, I got my shots. My battery's running out. Landed the thing, packed it up in my little backpack, and was walking back to the car. And I see 3 bridge security like SUVs zooming to the location where I was.
Oh my god!
So I'm just walking, like looking oblivious. I wave at them, like, "Hey guys, how you doing?" Meanwhile, I have
such a bad example.
It is a bad example. I know you're not supposed to do that, but I was at that bridge and I was like, "Come on." Bridge, photographer, Mavic, charged batteries. Come on. I gotta get it. So, shame on me. Do as I say, not as I do.
Right.
No,
good shot, Kai. I love the composition, good use, depth of field, focus, brilliant.
Yep. I would say, let me bring it back up. I would say I like the light in there, because the light kind of, it kind of draws me over there. I'm like, oh, what's that? Otherwise, it's sort of just this sort of geometric shape that's in shadow over there with a little bit of bottom lighting. The moon is clearly the subject, but with that light on the bridge, it lets me know, this thing is high, because that's, typically aircraft avoidance light. This thing is high, and there's the moon, and it just sort of works for me with that light on there. I like it.
Yeah. I could see this big, printed real big.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. All right, thank you, Kai. All right, next up is Steven Scharf. Steven says, Dreams of a City Past. Yerba Buena Center in San Francisco, shot with his Fuji X Pro 1. Yes, the 1. And a 18-55 f2.8 5.6 at 1. Oh, you shot this at f5.6 at 1/2000th of a second. Bring this up. Wow, look at that. That's a lot of geometry going on in there.
There is a lot of geometry. Handled all those vertical lines, horizontal lines, perfect. That's great. I love that. That back building, does that back building look? Oh, I guess it's just the texture. It kind of looked like it was out of focus, but I think it's just
the one in on the left with the flag on it.
Yeah, it looked weird, but I think it was just being small, and then I made it bigger. I can see it now. So
yeah.
This feels very like Futurama kind of thing.
It is.
Yeah, like this is future. This is the future city that somebody would have made or photographed, like in the '60s. Like, okay, this is what the future's going to look like.
Yeah, you see to put composite some flying cars in there or something.
Yeah. My only nit with this is I wish that the crop wasn't so tight to the gentleman's cart at the bottom. I wish he had a little bit more space, just a little bit more. But it's not really a big deal. I like how the lines are perfect, balanced, very well done.
Yeah.
Good treatment in black and white too. This really works good in black and white.
I agree. Yeah, having been there, I like this. I like that he captured this at a time when there was virtually no one there. So I'm curious because there's always somebody in there. There's always a crowd in there. Yeah, I like that, and I also like the guy in there, because the guy in the lower right gives it a little bit of scale. Not that you really need it, but it gives it a little bit of scale and a sense of place and non-sterileness, right? Because without that guy in there, it's just like geometry, straight geometry. The guy in there, you got our carbon-based life form in there sort of messing up the geometry. So.
Right. No, exactly. No, I mean, I even dig the little crane off on the right because I think it fits with the city theme.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of shows that the progression in there, he is kind of a surprise. He's a secondary hook to this image. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of story in here. I like this. I got to admit, though, I would walk past something like this. Yeah. I don't see this kind of shot a lot. But when I see them, I really enjoy them.
I don't know, man. I've been out running around Sacramento with you and your infrared camera. You see these shots all the time. You see shots that no one else sees. So.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I wonder if Steven, see the flag? I wonder if Steven waited for that flag to unfurl to the perfect degree like that before he shot it. Yeah.
Well, you know what? Bonus points if he did, because that's a nice element in there.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And the wind in San Francisco is kind of on and off, so you got to wait for that to happen. It's not always blowing.
Right.
Very good. Awesome. Stephen Sharf, thank you, sir. All right, next up is Laura Patton. Laura says, the agony of defeat. A coach comforts a young athlete after a heartbreaking loss. Yeah, you could feel the emotion in this one, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can almost read it. It's just like you can know what he's saying and trying to impart to her. You did your best, Susie. You did your best. We'll just keep trying. There's always next year. That's what it is.
Yeah, no, I love that. I even like the little smirk, if a half smile, we'll say on the coach, because he knows, right? Like he understands like what's going on, and there's future fights and there's future things, but the competitor doesn't see it that way. Mm-hmm. So I realize it's probably cliche to say, but I think this would be better in black and white.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I feel like all the little color splotches in the back. There's some the lighting usually in stadiums and things like that are really, really poor for skin tone, and like you can see like the red, and then on the person's left shoulder, right by the coach's hand, you've got some weird coloring patches going on in there.
Yeah.
So I think it would probably work better in black and white, because then it would really focus on their face, so that skin tone would really pop out because it would be lighter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I agree. I did not even think about that. I thought you were going to say something about Laura amputating the coach's head there.
It's photojournalism, so you got to get in there and get the shot, and ideally maybe crop up from the bottom, get really tight in on the faces, then you lose the hand. So to me, it's a best case scenario.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, I think this works. We should do a show at some point where Troy Miller, reimagines a couple of shots and does to them what you would do. Maybe someone submits their raw files and Troy takes a crack at editing how you would do it in Capture One versus I think we should do that.
Yeah, we should do that. Yeah, I've submitted images into the TWiP community and let everybody edit them. That was fun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's always fun to see how people see things.
All right, Armando's up next. Armando says Nikon D800E shot with sunlight with black background, 160 millimeter f8 at 1/160th of a second, shutter speed ISO 100. He edited in Lightroom and Photoshop, two of Troy Miller's favorite applications of I saw you shudder a little bit when I said Lightroom and Photoshop.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, what do you think about this? Let me guess. You wanted him to get a little bit close on the.
So to be fair, I see a lot of flower images come through competition, and flower images are kind of a thing that I've seen, because I've seen so many. It's easy for me to be hypercritical, so I'm trying to kind of take a step back and not be hypercritical right off the bat. Mm-hmm. I love the composition. I love the horizontal play. I love the buds going off to the right. I think that's fantastic. I'm not it's a little overexposed on my screen. I don't know if that's just Mighty doing that, on the two front flowers. They're a little overexposed. But the orange, the vertical lines, the diagonal lines, and the lower left flower, there's probably a green stem coming out. I would take all of that out and just leave the flower petals and that one little bud branch, if you will, that goes off to the right. I would just leave that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, let it float. It's okay, and just let it present itself that way without the lines in the back, because we don't know what they are.
Yeah,
and they're easy to remove. Yeah.
Nice. All right, I'll go with that. All right. Thank you from Sao Paulo, Brazil. One day, man. One day, Brazil. Howard Yermish is up next, and Howard says, from last summer, we stayed at a house in Little Chimoog. I think I'm not butchering that. With a view of the Confederation Bridge leading to Prince Edward Island. I got up early and brought my neutral density filters. That's gorgeous.
Yeah, a little bit longer exposure for the smoother water.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
what about the bisecting of the horizon through the image?
I'm rarely a fan of that. So I probably take the clouds out at the top and keep more of the foreground.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's hard, when you bisect an image like that, it's hard to decide as the viewer, what do you want me to pay attention to, foreground or the sky. And when you split it, it's distracting to the viewer's eye, and it just makes your eyes bounce all over, and we don't really know where to settle.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this one you could easily crop from the bottom, and it would have a great story in there as well. Just remove that biggest rock, crop up.
But I kind of like the rock. I don't know.
Well, I do, but see, that's the challenge here, right? So as an artist, you're standing there photographing. What is it that you want to tell? You want to tell the story of the horizon with the sky and the sun, the sunrise.
Yeah.
Or do you want to show the rocks? I think it's two photos. I don't see it as one photo. I think they compete with each other.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's a beautiful image, great scene. I mean,
yeah, I do like the longer exposure to kind of smooth out that water a little bit. But I agree. Yeah, like we always say on this, in these critiques, what's the subject? What is the subject of the photo? But sometimes, to be fair, sometimes the subject is the entire image, and that's usually in landscape shots. The subject itself is everything you're looking at. It's like, look at the grandeur of what Earth made, right? Versus look at this one piece. But
right.
All right.
Well done, Howard. I love those. Yep. I like Howard's landscapes. He always has such great landscapes, places I want to go.
Yeah, no, I know. Mark Harris is up next, and Mark says, hotel lobby. Last week I attended B&H Photos Depth of Field conference. I didn't even know they had a conference called Depth of Field. During a break in other activities, I saw this from the hotel lobby balcony. This is shot with his Nikon D850 Zeiss 85mm f1.4, racked out to f5.6, ISO 1600 at 1/60th of a second. Bring this up. All right, this is clearly photojournalism, right?
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, I like this. I like the story that's being told here. This is interesting. I would have a hard time knowing what this was, though. I would have a hard time knowing this was a conference, or that maybe that person's a photographer. Mm-hmm. I would simply see this as, this is like somebody waiting. Like, you could just title this, waiting. She's texting her boyfriend or something like, dude, I'm here. Where are you?
I got your coffee, man. Tea. I've been waiting.
Oh, that's tea. Yeah.
It is tea. Look at you. Look at those glasses are working. Look at that. Yeah, no, that's true. Like, these kind of shots, I see more of, they seem to would fit better in context with a group of other shots, a photo story that's about this B&H Depth of Field conference. This is one of a supporting character in a play versus a standalone type solo artist. So. Right.
I am intrigued about the Zeiss 8514 though. I got to look that up. I didn't know they made.
Go buy it. It's on B&H.
I have a Sigma art series.
Oh, hey, I'm talking to Sigma.
Weighs 400 pounds.
James Glennie is up next. James says, I enjoy beaches off season so much more. No crowds and usually better sunsets. This is shot with his Canon 6D 7200 f2.8 1/640th of a second f2.8 ISO 100. Yeah, I agree. Carbon-based life forms destroy the beautiful nature.
Yeah.
It looks like those. It
love.
looks like the railings in the foreground are a little bit soft, or is it me?
No, they're soft. Yeah, it's out of focus. It's just a matter of depth of field control, things like that. But I mean, compositionally, colors. This is very clearly this is the shot of the sky, and the foreground structure is a secondary element that our brains just love those lines and shapes, right?
Yep.
So
I like that. I like that those sort of man-made items break up what would just naturally be just nature only silhouetted foreground with grass and trees and sky. Then you got this sort of boom right there.
Yeah, one thing that I always regret when I go out and shoot stuff like this is I rarely do the super long exposures because I don't want to wait. But this is the kind of image that you need like a 3 or 4 or 10 or 20 minute exposure so that sky just melts into streaks of color.
Yeah.
So if they're not moving, then it's hard. But consider that when you're there, if you can do it.
And bring neutral density filters and a good sturdy tripod, or a reasonably sturdy tripod and a weight to put on it.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I unfortunately I'm kind of a lazy landscape photographer, so I just usually grab my camera.
If it's not there, it ain't getting shot, right?
Yeah, that's that's not what I do, but yeah.
All right, James, thank you for that, man. Gigi Imbrix is up next. What's up, Gigi? Gigi says, this was taken with my Fujifilm X-T3 camera and the 100 to 400 lens. It was snowing like crazy, so the ISO is 1/3200th. F5 shutter speed is 1/1000th of a second with a 1.33 exposure compensation to get some white snow. Love a critique on this image. All right, we shall do that right now. All right. I like the mystery of not seeing people's faces sometimes like this. Yeah,
I do too. Yeah. This is very well handled.
What do you think?
Bigger
portrait. This is not really a portrait. How would you classify this shot? It's not really photojournalism. Is it more photo illustration? It's not.
Well, that's where the challenge comes in. I would be satisfied to see this as a portrait. I mean, I think as a portrait, this does work. That person, the hat, the hair, the jacket, it's unique enough. I mean, traditionally, it's a person's face. In competition, some judges may not like this. I've seen judges complain.
But I really see the face.
But I really feel this is a portrait. I mean, this is that person, and if that person saw this or their friends or something saw this, they'd be like, oh, well, that's so-and-so, right? Like they would know. Yeah. I feel we have a little bit too much headspace. I don't think we need that much space. The story really is the out of focus horse, the snow, and then the back of this gal. And I would play with the crop. I would also play with some different toning. I don't want to say black and white, but I would definitely try this in black and white. I think it would be very powerful.
Really? You think so?
Yeah.
I feel like it would be too cold in black and white.
No, I mean you could do a little bit of a warming to the black and white. I always warm my black and whites a little bit just for that purpose. But I think with the snow and the graphical element of the hat and the braid in the back of her hair, the snow is going to pop out way more in a nicely toned, contrasty black and white. I really think it's going to look good. The shape of the horse is going to stay. Yeah, this to me just screams some kind of monochromatic treatment.
Yeah. Yeah. What about the sort of whiteness of the sky? Would you zoom in to lose some of that, or do you think it works as is?
Yeah, I would crop it. I mean, I would crop the sky down. Maybe take out half the sky, make it a little bit more horizontal. Bring our center of focus so that the gal's head is in the top right third of the image. The horse is in the lower left third. We've created this nice leading line. There's the triangle of the horse's face leading us, basically into the image. And then there's the round of her hat. Yeah, definitely, lose some of that sky.
Got it. All right.
Yeah, this is great. This is really great. And it's a hard image. I mean, it's not an image that you would normally pick as a winner.
Kind of image all the time. So yeah, I like it. Thank you, Gigi, for submitting that. All right, Steve Van Sickle's up next. Steve says, I went back to the Maryland Heights overlook towards Harper's Ferry, West Virginia last night. Spent a number of hours perched there. I'm really starting to like making panoramas for the detail I can get at an angle of view that even my Fuji 10 to 24 millimeter can't capture. Yeah. Look at that. That looks so otherworldly. That was almost science fiction-y.
Yeah. This is really nice. I'm just sort of taking it in. Yeah, I like the foreground a lot. At first I was like, let's get rid of that foreground, seeing it as a smaller image. But now that I see it bigger, I like that cold rock, that distance. I like that in there a lot. Yeah.
It's like the warm oasis of a city sort of cocooned by the coldness of this water that's surrounding it. Yeah.
Right. My only suggestion would be is to shorten your shutter speed a little bit. You're getting blur in the stars.
Yeah, the stars are moving, so you can almost do the math and see how long his exposure was. But I don't know. I mean, that doesn't bother me too much. You could almost have done star trails and composite them together, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, but I think that when you have an image like this where you're not trying to do star trails, it would be nice that the stars were sharp. I think it would add a stillness to this, and plus, it's not hard to do, really. I mean, he shot it 60 seconds at f2, so you could have easily shot it, f4 or f5.6 and shot it a 15th of a second and gotten the same exposure, and those stars wouldn't have moved at all.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, not a make or break for this image, but just a little detail. Yeah, well done.
Very good. Panoramas, man. Detail. Cool. And this was so this is a panorama. So this is multiple shots stitched together as well, right?
Yeah. He said it's 11 images.
Yeah. Okay. Very cool. All right, Steve. Thank you. Next up is Thomas Aaron. Thomas says, a winter sunset at the Fetch Masters Ranch. The normal full color processed image looks good enough to be a Christmas card. I put it in the comments if anyone wants to see, but I also processed it in duotone to try something new. I was shooting for shades that represent both coolness, winter night, and warmth, setting sun. Yeah, I think you got it.
Yeah, I just looked at the original image. No, I really love duotones. That's one of my favorite things to do because it really it's kind of like a black and white, right? It's that monochromatic concept of eliminating colors, but it gives you the ability to kind of tone the highlights and shadows so that it tells a different story. And I think Thomas nailed it. This is very well done. I would say the vignette is probably a little bit heavy, just in the corners, but it's not a make or break kind of thing.
You're not going to say anything about the sensor spots?
Those are snow.
That's snow? Is that falling snow or is that sensor spots?
I'm going with snow. That's
benefit of the doubt. Snow.
Yeah, if that's sensor dust, dude, you need to get that thing clean because it's on the left side. It's deep, little tiny specks, big speck.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that as snow, but that's not snow, Thomas. Get that thing in.
Yeah, I know. Your sensor needs some loving there.
Yeah.
But if it's snow, awesome. So.
I would still probably remove some of those bigger specs, to be honest with you, because if somebody thinks it's sensor dust,
and then it's distracting, right?
Yeah. Most people will never know that. Only photographers would know that.
Yeah. Hey, Michael Rhino's in the house, and Michael says, while in Page, Arizona a couple of weeks ago, I spent an evening at the well-known and often photographed Horseshoe Bend. The sun had been tucked behind the clouds through most of the evening and then made a quick appearance just before ducking down under the horizon. He shot this with his Nikon D850 with a Tamron 15 to 30 millimeter lens set at 15 millimeters. Shutter was 1.3 seconds at f/22, ISO 64. There we go. Look at that. Oh, look at the starburst on that sun.
Yeah, that's a very cool little spot. Yeah, it's very neat. I like it. I really enjoy this image. This is neat. I mean, we've seen this so many times, so it's always hard to see images that, from other tripod holes, right? Like it's almost cliche. But it's always great to go there, and it's always great to shoot it. And this is one of the better representations of this area that I've seen in a long time. So this is very well done. And kudos for being patient and waiting. So many people run out there, go click, 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 and then they bail.
Yeah. Have you been out here before in person?
Yeah. It's
is this
very
a national
high.
park? Is it classified as a national park, or is it just?
Yeah.
It is. So which means no drone footage allowed there.
Well, not legally, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's a national park. I don't remember. It's been a while since we've been out there.
Huh. Well, it's worth a Google.
It's worth a Google, yeah.
No, I love this shot. Yeah, I've seen this shot before. We've all seen the horseshoe before. I remember seeing a shot that had some really dramatic clouds in it, and it was black and white. I don't know who shot it, but every time I see this structure, kind of like the arches in Arizona, I think of that,
right.
One particular iconic shot.
Right. Yeah, and I don't know, and maybe it's just me, but it feels like the horizontal is tilting to the right. It feels like it needs to move to the left slightly. I feel like it's leaning.
Just a little bit, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Just a little bit.
All right.
Good job, Michael.
Michael Rhino. Going to places I need to go. Joshua Sommerfeld is up next. He says, first test of the new lens. This is his Canon EOS 77D with a Tamron. Lots of Tamron in the house today. With a Tamron SP 15 to 150 to 600 millimeter f5 to 6.3. I don't know what DIVC means, USD. 600 millimeter at f6.3 for 1/500th of a second at ISO 100. Yeah, I thought this was pretty sharp.
Yeah, and if I remember that the 77D is a crop sensor, right? It's like an APS sensor.
Yeah,
so that's making that 600 closer to 900,
something like that.
Yeah, that's great.
And it's still look how sharp that is. You can see the individual feathers on that little bird. And and the little tufts of leaves growing out of the branch.
Exactly. No, that's really well done. It's nice that the depth of field is just enough to get the branch and keep that branch sharp all the way across, and the bird is sharp pretty much tail to eye. I would probably brighten up the eye a little bit, the face of the bird, because we're losing the eye, which would be nice to be able to see that. But when you have your model out there sitting on the branch, have them turn into the light. Sometimes that can help,
Yeah. You have to practice your chirping language to get that to happen.
Yeah.
Would you have vignetted this at all?
I may have vignetted it a little bit. I don't think it's super bad. The brightness on the right-hand side does draw you out of the frame. So I would probably vignette that a little bit. Yeah, that's a good call. Good job, Frederick, for catching that.
Hey, that's what I do. I nitpick. All right, let's see. We got to make a nitpicker's trophy. That's what we got to do.
That's a T-shirt, dude. That
is a T-shirt. Yeah, I've been nitpicked. All right, this is Mike Doran. Mike Doran's in the house. He said today was pretty cool, and the fact I had created images of Indy cars on a course, Laguna Seca Raceway since 2004. Graham Rahal, seen here, spun his first laps on this legendary racetrack. This image was created with a Canon 1DX with a 70 to 200 millimeter f2.8L lens. F5.6, ISO 400, 800th of a second, edited in Lightroom Classic and Adobe Photoshop CC 2019. Enjoy. Again, Troy's favorite cocktail of post-processing software.
There was a day.
Yeah, what are you saying? Are you saying you evolved, you saw the light, or you just changed? Which is it?
It's funny. I was migrating some videos over to my YouTube channel, and I've got like 12, Lightroom and Photoshop tutorials, and I'm like, not moving those over.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, no, because they're a little bit outdated, and really, I just no.
Interesting. Couldn't do it. Your heart couldn't do it, huh?
Maybe I should. For those who are using it, there's some good info, but I was like, nah, I'm not gonna do it yet.
Yeah. Well, what do you think about this shot? The first thing, Mike's motorsport shots are always, professional. So there's not much more to say about this one, but this one does look like it's not as sharp as his work normally is. I don't know if there's motion blur in there or just focus. And also it seems like it's a little bit tilted, and I wonder if that's on purpose or if the actual geography there was tilted. It feels like it's tilted to the right. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it if it's tilted. It looks okay. It feels like it's probably tilted by looking at the tires in the background, the seam in between them. Yeah. But it doesn't hurt the image. I would say that what we need is just a crop up from the bottom. I don't think all that dirt in the foreground really helps us out much. Yeah. The background's okay. And it's a little tight on the left edge. That's just unfortunate. It feels cramped in that space.
Well, yeah, the car doesn't have any place to go, right?
Right. It just feels cramped, but it's preferential at that point, and it's just a matter of maybe this was for advertising, or you're going to put some text on the right. Yeah. So see what I did there? See how I stole your line?
I know, it's okay. Yeah, you're learning. I love it. Just like I'm learning to see the world in black and white. So.
I would in post-processing though on this image, I would bring up the whites of the highlights because it is a little flat and they're grayed out a little bit. So you could definitely spark some life into those whites by doing that.
Just bring a little clarity in there.
Not clarity.
No.
Clarity will be different. Clarity will create a contrast. What we want to do is just bring up the whites or highlights. Okay. Leave the shadows. Leave the contrast alone. Just bring up the whites or highlights.
Brighten the whites. Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I agree with you on the foreground, losing some of that dirt, because like we always say on these critiques, is it adding to the story of the image, and is that dirt adding to the story of this, bazillion-dollar car going a bazillion miles an hour around this curve?
Right.
Very cool. All right, Mike, thank you for that. Moving right along. You know what? At the beginning of the show, we talked about the theme, but never said what the theme was.
Oh, no, you said we'd mention it at the end, so we'll mention it.
Yeah.
I got a sticky note reminding me.
I got one, too. All right, next shot up is another one from Mike. Uh-oh, Mike. We're only taking one shot per critique, so we got to skip that one, unfortunately. I gotta enforce the rules. But it looks like it's a beautiful shot. I don't know. So, we'll bring it up. We'll look at it, but we can't. We got to enforce our one image per critique rule. Moving right along down here. Freddie Sedano's up next. Freddie says, what did Freddie say? The Final Journey. This is shot with his Canon 60D 24-105 series, L series, sorry, 24 millimeter, f4 at 1/250th of a second. In 2015, Isaac Aminos, and 13 other souls were senselessly lost in the San Bernardino shooting. I ended up providing photography for the family. I captured a lot of grief, a lot of sadness, and on some level, a bit of closure and healing. One of Isaac's sons is on camera right, holding a corner. I was fortunate to capture the shot. Right place, right time. Wow. Power of photography right here. Wow.
Right.
Jeez.
Yeah, so much going on in there.
So, geez, that's a priceless shot. Look at the faces.
Yep, everybody in the background. No, Freddie did a fantastic job, and I read through the comments. I won't read them all, but Freddie was hired to do this. So he was there by their request, and he was documenting it for them. So yeah, so I think this is a timeless image. I look at the image from a photographer's perspective, and I wish there was a little bit more contrast. I wish there was a little bit more color saturation. But then again, as I look at it, I kind of like the flatness. Maybe that fits the mood a little bit better.
Yeah.
So I'm not suggesting to do one or the other. I'm just, my brain says, we need a little bit more snap in the blacks, and maybe that would help. Bring out the faces a little bit more. That was my concern, is I really want to see their faces.
Yeah, I agree with that. But at the same time, I feel like if he had increased the contrast, he may have lost some of the blacks, because those black suits might have gone away if you push him down any further, which is why I'm thinking he decided to bring it up a little bit and go a little bit low contrast so that you can see some detail in there. Plus, he's got a lens flare. He's shooting into the sun.
Right. Right.
So
Well handled, Freddie. Good job. Good job. And they're not Lego figures, so I like the fact that he's broken out of his genre for a little bit.
look at that. Look at that. Yeah, we're gonna get a lot of people out of their genres with our theme for this
With our
show.
theme, yes.
All right, next up is Trey Nelson. Hey, Trey. Trey and I were chatting in TWiP Pro a couple days ago. Trey says, while walking from my hotel to a meeting this morning, I snapped this picture walking over a bridge over the Autobahn in Stuttgart, Germany, taken with his old iPhone 5. Look at that.
Wow.
See? Look at that. That is just, that's so cool. It
the
doesn't
best
matter
camera's
what
the one-
camera you're shooting with, man.
Nope. It's the one you have with you, right?
It's the one you have with you. Yeah. No, I love this. This is cool.
I do. There's just enough blur in some of the cars on the left. That's really, really nice. The symmetry here is really what makes this work for me. The lane or the island, if you will, in the middle is pretty much dead center. You've got this nice composition of the lines on either side, leading you off into the distance. Those two magical towers with the princesses at the top or whatever. I don't know. But it's the composition that really this, and those leading lines. Our brains love all those things.
Yeah, and I love his post processing and the color treatment of this too, because it just feels like what I would imagine. I've never been to Germany yet, but it feels like what I would imagine Germany feels like. Sort of a little bit chilly. And this is my stereotypical observations, right? So a little bit chilly, a little bit desaturated on the colors.
Right.
Very clean. That's what I imagine Germany feels like. Very cool. All right, Trey, thank you very much for that shot with that old iPhone 5. That was a good design on that iPhone 5, by the way.
Yeah.
All right. And where are we? Okay, here we are. Peter Levshin's up next. And all right, so Peter submitted 2 images and we can only pick one. Peter. So of these 2 images, which one should we critique?
Pick the second one.
With the balloon?
Yeah, the balloon. Yeah. They're both really good, but
all right.
I like the balloon shot a lot.
Okay, Peter Levshin says Sony A7R II 24mm infrared, Burma. This was when I was on Mars. It seemed very natural to me until Troy told me to get off Mars and get back to Earth. Troy, see, what are you doing to us, man? We finally got him out there.
Yeah, this is one of Peter's phases where he likes to tweak the colors, and this was shot in infrared, which I thought was really cool. How you take an image that's infrared and then manipulate it this far to get this sort of bizarre color combination. I'm biased because I helped them do it, so I love the weirdness in this. It's very fantasy, very future tech or futuristic.
Yeah, I like it. It is, and this is an example of how you can get those kind of weird sort of color shifts with infrared. When I looked at this, what it reminded me of a negative, a color negative.
Oh yeah. Yeah, infrareds tend to have that look a little bit. But even, this is a good example of just manipulate the heck out of your image if you want. But there's still compositional elements and things that are happening in here that help tell that story. Mm-hmm. You've got your horizon, nice. You've got your building that's brightly lit. That's like your first hook. The balloon is a second hook. The clouds, sort of a nice background layer. It's nice and soft, and it's simple. There's not a lot of complications going on in this to draw your eye out. So
yeah, very cool.
Yeah,
I like it. One day I'll get an infrared modified camera. One day. All right, moving right along. Next shot here is going to be Craig Stampley. Let's pull this one up here and let me read this. All right. He says, this one goes against Troy Miller's rule that if it bends, bend it. However, who likes to always follow the rules? And I would add to that, who always likes to follow Troy Miller's rules?
Oh, ouch. Ouch.
Oh, I love this. This is nice. Look at Craig down under making these amazing shots. This is beautiful. Look at that.
Yeah, yeah. No, this is fantastic, and I love the jab. That's perfect. But it does make a point that we need to know the rules, and what that does is shows what the other options are, right?
Yeah.
So if you choose to break them and do what you want, that's artistic license.
Yes.
That's perfect.
Right.
Do that. But if you don't know better, then it's an accident.
Yeah.
So intention sometimes can be really, really powerful in how we create things. So I totally dig this. I love the fact that, we've got all these leading lines, the shape of her arms, the flow of her fabric or gown or whatever it is, contrasts that. It's great. Very well done.
Yep. I agree. I agree with everything you said. Yeah, this is a beautiful shot. Beautiful shot. I'm looking for her footprints in the sand from her running. I see a little bit in there. I'm wondering if he took those out.
Oh yeah, yeah. I didn't even see. Well, you know what? That's nice because it's a nice clean element. So if you took them out, I'm down with that. That's a good call.
Yep. I love it. Love it. Good shot, man. I even like the processing. And I'm even going to overlook your obvious pandering to Troy Miller with the black and white. leaving fruits at the base of the Troy Miller effigy.
It is not. It is not pandering. It is just, this is how this image works best.
Oh, okay. No, I like it. It's a good shot. Very cool. And I like his breaking the rules of her leaving the frame too. That is very nice.
Yeah. Getting way up there. Yeah.
Okay. Next shot is from Michael DeRay. And Michael says, sometimes I shoot in color. Uh-oh. It's a revolt. Look at that. He shot this with his EM5, his Olympus EM5 with a 40 to 150 millimeter lens on it. Shot at 1/60th of a second, f5.6 at ISO 250.
Yeah.
Wow.
He did in the comments, though, out of black and white. So,
That doesn't count.
I love it in color. I really do. I think that, this type of image, because it's such a simple composition, the color really works. I do like the black and white a little bit better. It's much, much more dramatic to me.
Really? We gotta look at
I could go either way. I could really go either way, but I think the black and white is just so powerful because it's graphical. It's more contrasty and.
Yeah, but I think you're right on the go either way because, looking at these kinds of baboons, they're known for their bright colors, right? So you kind of expect to see the bright colors. And I think that might, let me bring up the other one. I thought there was another. Is there one in the comments?
It's in his feed. Yeah, it's in the comments. Yeah.
Oh, I don't see it.
You got to hit more, show more at the top of the comment chain.
Oh, I don't know how to use this. I don't see a show more in here. Where is it?
Oh, I guess why isn't it showing on yours? That's weird. Oh, it's under my comment. I'm sorry. Yeah, click under my comment.
Oh, under your wonderful image? Oh, okay. Got it right there. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Yeah, he added it. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah, I agree. This works both ways because in black and white, contrasty like this, it's more graphical. But when I see a baboon, I want to see the colors on the face, especially this kind of baboon. I want to see because they're just vivid blues and reds, and my brain is always like, why are you colored like that? That is amazing.
Yeah. This is the kind of image that I'm not sure. I could go either way. I would probably have both of these in my library. I would probably vacillate back and forth on which one I shared on Instagram or shared with my friends or put in. This would be one I would struggle with, which one to do, either black and white, because they're a different image both ways.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I thought you were going to say something about not seeing the eye.
No, I'm okay with that because this feels a little sad to me. Because it's probably in a zoo, and I'm not a big fan of zoo animals at that point. So, I feel like it's a very introspective shot. Whether it's in the wild or in the zoo, it doesn't matter. I see this just as an introspective type image.
Love it. Yeah, definitely a winner though. Love that shot. All right. Is that no? We got one more. No, that's it. because Mike submitted another one in there. So that's it. We'll have to save that one for the next critique, or resubmit that one for the next critique, Mike. I think we are done.
Yeah, I think we made it.
We made it. Hey, and sorry, folks, for being a stickler for the rules, but this was the first one after I said one per customer, so we can't be, breaking the rules right after I said.
Right. Well, because what's going to happen.
You're going to get on punishment if you come home after 10 p.m. They come home at 11. All right, just this one time.
Oh, yeah. It didn't go so bad before.
Yeah, exactly. So, no, but very cool crop of images this time again.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
So do you want to reveal what the topic of next week's show is going to be, or the next week's critique?
We were going to do leading lines, right? Leading lines and graphical elements that bring you into an image. So triangles and shapes and things like that, but predominantly leading lines.
Lines, yes. So
Trey's image that we looked at today would be one off the top of my head that would be perfect for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The one with the one in Stuttgart, Germany.
Yes. Wow. Good memory.
Stuttgart. Yep. It's on my list of places to go. I want to get to Germany, so it's in my head. Stuttgart, Brazil, Australia. I need to get to all these places.
Yeah.
So cool. Riverside, No, that was cool. All right, well, cool. We made it through this one. So yeah, next week's theme is going to be leading lines. Leading lines. So you don't know what a leading line is? Google leading lines photography, and you'll understand it. Basically, it's the idea of having graphical elements in the image that lead to your subject or lead you somewhere in an image. So leading lines. Yeah,
they don't always have to be obvious either. Sometimes it's colors, it's shapes, it's streaks and clouds. It could be roads, it could be paths, power lines. It could be in an abstract element. It could be, the patterns in a feather. I mean, there's so many places that leading lines work. Yeah, like in your shot right now, there you have cabinets that are leading lines into your head. I do, don't I?
Right there. You can just screenshot this one, and that's submission for next week. Cool. Nice. All right, man. Well, that's it for this episode. Any parting shots you want to leave before we close this one off?
No, good. I mean, good job to everybody. Nothing powerful, I like seeing the number of images that we're getting now and the uniqueness in each one. So keep that up. I look forward to the next one. Yeah, likewise. Me too. Yep. This is cool. This is a good start to our week every week. Yes. All right, man. That's it. We'll see you next time. Sounds good. All right. Thanks, buddy. All right. See you later, Troy Miller. This is TWiP.